Why, happy Wednesday. Hopefully, everyone's having a happy Wednesday. Hopefully, you're having a glorious Wednesday. But what I'm going to be talking about is not really glorious. It's not really righteous. It's not really anything other than freaking disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. That's what I'm going to be talking about. But there's some good news in relationship to one. But I'm going to talk about the complete disgusting issue. I mean, everyone's joked about the Catholic diddling little kids. It's based on some truth. Unfortunately, it's based on a lot of truth that keeps on being reported. It's not just the Catholic Church, it's all churches. It's not just all churches, it's the Boy Scouts or fill in the blank. There's a lot of organizations out there that target our future, take away their innocence. And this is from NBC News. At least 600 children were sexually abused by Baltimore Catholic Church over 60 years. 60 years. Young people in some parishes were preyed upon by multiple abusers over decades. The state top prosecutors said after a 4-year investigation. I mean, you want to know why there's an attack on Christians? This is partially why. I mean, you got the Catholic Church that tried to move pastors around or clergies around to avoid detection or to avoid convictions. This is kind of why people hate religion, especially Christians. Now, do you know I may be a little heavy-handed here, but this is one of the top reasons. Maryland's top prosecutor on Wednesday accused the Catholic Church officials in Baltimore engaging in years-long cover-up over sexual abuse of 600 plus children, some of whom were preyed upon by multiple abusers over decades. I don't think it's a Baltimore issue, to be honest. I think every state needs to take a look into their religious institutions. Time and again, let's hear. State Attorney General Anthony Brown chronicled the abuse in a 463-page report and named several priests and described their alleged wrongdoing. Time and again, members of the church hierarchy resolutely refused to acknowledge the allegations of child sexual abuse for as long as possible. According to the report, when the denial became impossible, the church leadership will remove abusers from parish or school, sometimes with the promises that they would have no further contact with children. The church documents revealed with a disturbing clarity that archdiocese, I took Latin in high school, but when it comes to these titles, I think it's archdiocese, was more concerned with avoiding a scandal than a negative publicity than it was protecting children. I mean, you want to make a stand, you want to get ahead of the scandal. The scandal is that you hid it. The scandal is that you didn't make it known, which has a more negative impact. In total, the state found more than 600 children are known to have been abused by 156 pedophile monsters, including in this report, but the number is likely far higher. Far higher. Sexual abuse is so pervasive, it wasn't uncommon for young victims to be targeted more than one adult. According to the report, young people in some parishes have been preyed upon by multiple abusers over decades, and the clergy used the power and authority of their ministry to exploit the trust of children and families in their charge. state top prosecutor found. All right, it's not too much more of this. This is really disgusting, to be honest. This is why people hate the Catholic Church, because they hid them. They were more worried about the scandal and negative press that they just moved these people around, not really holding anyone accountable. The findings were made public after 4 years of investigations, and they illustrated the privacy, systematic failure of the anarchists to protect the most vulnerable, the children. It was charged to keep safe, Brown said in a statement, based on hundreds of thousands of documents of untold stories from hundreds of survivors. It provides for the first time in history of this state publicly accounting more than 60 years of abuse and cover-up. I mean, I think the parish should no longer be a parish. I think if this is one campus, I think that campus needs to be torn down, be repurposed. I think the Catholic Church needs to pay, as long as that building's been up, property taxes. There's got to be some retribution from the church. Time again shows this. The Archdiocese chose to safeguard the institution to avoid scandal instead of protecting the children in its care. The lengthy response from the Baltimore Archbishop William E. Lori. The church did not appear to deny any of the findings. Lori called the report a sad and painful reminder that the tremendous harm caused to innocent children and the young people by some ministers of the church. Details account of the abuse are shocking and soul-searing. He said it's difficult for the most to imagine such evil acts that could have occurred for victim survivors everywhere. They know the hard truth, these evil acts did occur. This is why people hate the church. It's not why I hate the church. I just don't agree with organized religion. But this isn't common. I mean, this isn't just one Catholic church in Baltimore. This is the Catholic Church as a whole throughout the whole world. Now, I know Texas is no stranger. I mean, I know that the drag queen story hours and drag shows are being performed in front of kids. And instead of Texas going after the church because that's their voter base, which I do think the Attorney General of Texas does need to take this into consideration as well and look into the Catholic Church and just Boy Scouts and anything that deals with kids. But of course, there is, even though this is going to be the counterpoint, it's like the church does something terrible, so the other community gets punished. But I do want to call out both groups. I think both groups are disgusting. Now, of course, there's probably going to be some hate. According to these two bills, they're saying that they're trying to erase a certain group, which is not true. They just want to restrict access to kids, which I think goes without saying. I mean, but of course, this needs to be a bill also towards anybody that targets kids, because I think kids should be left alone and be able to keep their innocence. Of course, according to Austin KXN, the Texas House of Representatives will soon take up a bill officially passed by the Senate that would enact new consequences for drag-related events held in the state. They're not getting rid of drag queen shows. They're not. But some people are going to say they are, but they're not. Lawmakers first approved to expand the version of Senate Bill 12, which will make it a crime to hold a drag show or other performances considered overly sexual if they're in front or could possibly be seen by minors. The bill passed the final vote 20-11, received the initial approval Tuesday after a tense exchange during the debate. Legislation have levied penalties up to $1,000 against any business owner hosting a sexual-oriented performance with anyone younger than 18 present. A city or county would also not be able to host these kinds of performance on public property. According to the proposal, the bill defines sexual orientation performance as a male performer exhibiting as a female or a female performing exhibiting as a male or appears to be prudent interest in sex. So no more drag shows for kids. Drag performers could also face criminal misdemeanor charge if they perform in front of children or on public property, according to the language SB 12. Following the vote Wednesday, the lawmakers also approved Senate Bill 1601 by a vote of 19 to 10. With 2 senators voting present, this legislation will cut off state funding to any public library that hosts children's reading event led by a drag performer. Senator Brian Hodges, Republican of Mineola, introduced both bills this session. He and other Republican lawmakers says that these restrictions are needed to protect children from inappropriate conduct and materials. However, Democrats and other advocates argue that these measures are government overreach, targeting the LGBTQ plus community. My question is, why do you want to do these type of things in front of kids? Remove all doubt. That's all I have to ask. The House will now have to consider to approve both pieces of legislation before the governor can potentially sign them into law. These votes come a day after the Texas Senate approved legislation banning treatment options for transgender young people. You know how they said young people? No, these are kids being transitioned. Come on, KXN. Call it as it is. This is to prevent parents forcing transitions onto their kids. This is to prevent doctors and hospitals to cut off 12-year-old boobs or 13-year-old. It doesn't really matter. This is to prevent bodily harm done through affirming care to minors. To young people, to kids. And will ultimately apply to those already received that kind of health care in the state after a reversal among Republican lawmakers. Yeah, there's that amendment that was trying to grandfather patients as already receiving this health care. This also includes, I think, puberty blockers too. Reversal among Republican lawmakers. The 88th regular legislative session is set to end on May 29th. So these 2 bills are here to protect kids. Now, I do think a Democrat needs to propose a bill at next session to go after the churches that take away children's innocence, because I think this is just as a disgusting story as in itself. But this is a step forward. This is a step where the state is getting involved to protect the innocence of the kids. Now, I do know that the Texas is probably not going to touch the Catholic Church, even though they should. They really should. I mean, I think anything to deal with kids needs to be the most oversight, whether it's from a church or a school administration or from the local police department or detectives or anything requires the most oversight because we're dealing with their future. With that being said, that is my video. I'm pretty sure someone's going to leave some wonderful comments or not, except I don't really care. With that being said, that is my video for today. Have yourself a wonderful day, morning, or evening.